this is Loren with the Talk of San Diego. I'm here with John Young. He is our visual audio producer here at the Reuben H. Fleet Science Center. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do here?
Yeah, I create planetarium shows and do the live Sky Tonight show and teach people about astronomy in our big dome.
How long have you been doing this sort of stuff here at the Fleet Center?
I've been working here for 30 years. I started in '83, and my job when I first started here was repairing slide projectors and running puppet shows in the theater. I would do the puppet shows and then mouth along with the soundtracks, and then afterwards go and fix the slide projectors that projected the rest of the show. And I gradually learned how to use the computer to program the stars and the special effects and the lights, and I gradually started building the special effects, such as rising suns, exploding planets, galaxies, rising and setting suns, all kinds of interesting things that were computer programmed in synchronization with the soundtrack. When we first started, my department did have the first computer here at the Science Center, and we didn't use it for business work. We used it for programming lights and special effects and for moving the stars around and things like that. So I learned how to program that computer. I already knew some computer work, and I learned how to use that and started doing all the shows that we had. Then gradually we became more and more computerized, and now we use the computers for almost everything, from the sound to the pictures.
So you mentioned woodworking. How does woodworking enter into this whole process?
Well, the devices I built, which were called special effects, were little tiny machines that were based around small projectors. They had wood and metal parts, so you had to learn how to use both types of tools. So I would have a slide projector. Actually, it was a film strip projector, and I mounted a motor on it and had it rotate, and it projected an image of a rotating planet on the screen. And then we might bounce that off a mirror, which was on a motor, and it slowly moved across the screen. And behind it was the stars being projected. So you had a pretty convincing space scene with no computers and no video projectors at all.
We got done watching the comet collision, and we noticed the spring sky. Does that change every season?
Yeah, we have a different show for each season, and I work with astronomers and writers and create the script, and then I create the visuals and the music and get somebody to narrate, and each individual season has a different part of the sky that we look at.
So, John, how long does it take you to produce a show?
It takes me about a month or two to do each show, and then I have some other things that I do too. That's not the only part of my job. I maintain the sound system in the theater and the video display system and the electronic signage here and automated announcements that we have and various other things. It keeps me pretty busy. And I'm working on another show too, which is kind of exciting to me. It's The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Well, some people say there isn't a dark side of the moon. Is that true?
Well, every planet has a dark side and a light side. It depends which side the sun is shining on. On all planets and moons, like our moon, the dark and light side change. And that's one reason why we have the phases of the moon. So dark side of the moon's not really technically, it's not always the same side that's dark. There's a far side of the moon and the near side of the moon, because the moon's rotation is locked to its orbit around us. So the same side is always facing us. But which side is in darkness and which is light changes over time, over a month.
Which season would be your favorite when it comes to the heavens?
Well, I think I like the winter the most because the skies are very dark and it's crisp, and the seeing is very good, and there's some very interesting. There is some very interesting constellations that are up, and I kind of like the winter the most. I like to bundle up and sit outside and look at the sky.
When you took this job, did you envision doing 30 years with stars?
No, it's kind of a surprise to me. It's certainly the longest job that I've ever had. It's just so much fun here, and the people I work with are so great. I have a good time, and I always do something different every day. I get up in the morning and I have a plan, but I get here and something else happens, and sometimes I get to follow my plan, and sometimes I do something completely different. So it's always very exciting.
Well, John, you definitely put on a great show for us. I heard there's a behind the scenes that you would like to show us.
That's true. We're in the recording studio right now where we create the soundtrack. So if you like, I can show you a little bit of how we create the soundtrack.
That'd be great.
I'm stopping the playback And this is the synthesizer that I use to write the music for the track. So we just have some built-in nice spacey sounds here. So I record the voiceover first, and then I edit it. Don't have to use a razor blade and a splicing block anymore, but I put it out in the right order and remove the outtakes, the mistakes, and things like that. And then put it in a right sequence and have enough time in between the various phrases for the visuals to appear and develop. And then I sit down and write some music and add some sound effects. For the summer, I have some water. We're in a little waterfall area. And then some birds and maybe a couple of crickets in the background because it's almost always night when we're looking at the sky here at the theater.
So, John, I heard you have some more stuff to show us, and where would that be next?
Well, we're going to go into the area where we do the visuals, the space visuals and all the planets and various things. And this is the recording studio, so we do that other work in the other room. So let's go in there and have a look.
Hi, and we're back. I'm sitting here with John Young. He's here to show us some more cool visuals. Tell us a little bit about what you're about to show us.
Well, what we're looking at here is a model of the International Space Station, and I'm controlling it with the mouse. And right now we're leaving the space station, and we can see the Earth kind of shrinking off in the distance. We're heading out, and this is the software I use for the planetarium Sky Tonight show. And there are 2 planetarium shows every month on the first Wednesday of every month at 7 and then 8:15 p.m. And right now we're flying to Mars, and I'll be doing this same sort of thing in the theater later tonight. And we'll fly to Mars, and we'll look at the various constellations. We'll go to some other planets. Here you can see we're arriving at Mars, right there. And then there's the biggest volcano in the solar system right there, and it's called Olympus Mons. Let me see if I can center us on it here. We're getting right in here. That is one big volcano. It's about the size of Texas. It's absolutely enormous. And so I have all these options here to fly around here. We can fly around Mars. And, oh, look, we're going on the dark side of Mars. And if we want, we could even go to the moons of Mars here. Mars has 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos. And right now we're going to fly off to Phobos. We're going to kind of whiz right by the edge of Mars. And there it is. That's Phobos, or a model of Phobos, one of the moons of Mars. Doesn't look anything like a nice round moon like ours, kind of lumpy and bumpy. Looks like something I found in my refrigerator last month after not cleaning it in a long time. And there's a huge crater right there on it. They think that that crater actually almost split the thing in half. And we can go anywhere with this. We can actually fly to any of the planets. Let's go off to Saturn right now. It might take a little too long to fly to Saturn, so we're going to jump to Saturn. There it is. Beautiful ringed planet. Absolutely magnificent. Get a little bit closer here. The red line there is the orbit of the satellite called Cassini, which is currently orbiting Saturn and flying through all of its moons there. And in fact, we can actually see all the moons, or many of the moons, because there's several dozen of them. See all those lines there? Those are actually the moons, or many of the moons of Saturn. There's lots of them. I forget the exact number. I think there's about 60 or 70 of them. Pretty fun. So this is really nice in the theater as well, because we can actually fly the audience through the rings, which is what I'm trying to do right now, fly us through the rings. The other hand on there. So here we are flying through the rings of Saturn, and this is the same software I'll be using in the theater. It looks great on the dome.
And who develops this software?
This software is developed by a company called Skis, and they are a Swedish company, and they create software for planetariums. There's another package called Celestia, and there's one called the Digital Universe. So you can download those softwares and install them on your computer, and those are both free, both the ones that I mentioned. So we're going to fly to Cassini right now, and Cassini is the satellite that is orbiting Saturn. The red lines show you its orbit. Obviously, it's orbiting around and around and around Saturn. It actually launched a probe onto the moon called Titan, which is the only moon in the solar system that has an atmosphere. It's actually kind of this reddish, smoggy-looking thing full of hydrocarbons. And here it is. It's been out there for many years, orbiting Saturn. This part's not on it anymore that I'm circling with the mouse, because that's the probe that they launched onto Titan. This is the radio antenna that it transmits all of its information back to Earth with. And they're getting some amazing pictures of Saturn and its moons. Pretty great stuff. Okay, so you asked about the dark side of the moon earlier. So following on that topic, here we are flying back towards Earth and the moon. And you will see that the moon does have a dark side that moves around it all the time as it orbits the Earth. Here we are, just past the Earth. So here we're looking at the dark side of the moon, and we're actually centered on the moon right now. I'm going to spin us around so we can see the sunny side. And we are, look at those craters. And the big dark areas on it, they were actually thought by the ancient people to be seas. So they're known by the Latin name Maria, which means sea. We're actually looking at the far side of it right now. So let's speed up time a little bit. So we're looking at different parts of it. There they are. Those are the Maria of the moon. That's what makes it look like a man to some people. Although some cultures call it a rabbit or some other things. Kind of looks like a rabbit right there with the ears. So when the Apollo astronauts landed there, they found that there was some volcanic components, but most of the moon is been pulverized by many, many, many millions of years of meteors. So this is a model of the Chandra X-ray telescope, which has been orbiting for several years. And I'm incorporating this into the Summer Sky Show, and we're going to look at a lot of the fantastic imagery that this thing has returned in the X-ray spectrum, because we see the sky in various spectra, infrared, visible light, and X-ray, and the X-ray is a very excellent method of seeing through dust clouds and that sort of thing that you normally can't. We're actually looking right into the business end of the telescope right now. So I will be animating this as part of the sequence, and we'll be also looking at some pictures that it got as well as the model.
Well, John, I understand why you love your job so much, and you've been doing it for 30 years. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us. If you guys would like more information, please visit rhfleet.org. And thank you so much. This is Loren with the Talk of San Diego.